Joining us is a host at Law and Crime Network, former Morris County prosecutor, TV legal analyst, and certified trial attorney, which is what we love because we have lots of legal things to talk to Bob Bianchi about. Bob, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Cooper.
So let's start with what's happening in New York right now. They're going to be, it's bail reform and it's discovery reform law. So let's start with the bail reform first. Can you explain to us what bail reform is and what they're doing?
Yeah, this has kind of been like the new thing in the last decade or so. Listen, when I was prosecutor, I did go through the jail list, and it was quite extraordinary because we were on a monetary-based system, which meant that when you went before a judge would give you a bail and say you need to come up with $50,000, maybe with a 10% option, so on and so forth. But you would be shocked at how many people were languishing in the county jail because they couldn't make a $200 bail on a very, very minor offense. And you know, as the criminal justice process goes along, they were in there for a year or 2 years because they couldn't afford that kind of bail. So we were very cautious at the Morris County Prosecutor's Office to go through those jail lists and to go ROR, release on their own recognizance, for those who couldn't make those kind of bails. So the idea of bail reform that way is a good idea. Jersey, a couple of years ago, went to a non-monetary bail system where there are probation officers and prosecutors who are specifically assigned after arrest within 24 hours. They have to do, there's a scale they have, and that scale is assessing the seriousness of the crime and the person's prior history of likely to appear or not appear in court. And then they're given a score. And based on that, many people have been released because they were on the low level of that score. And if the prosecutors want to hold them over in the county jail, they have to make an application to the court. A defense attorney is allowed to argue it. And if the court agrees, for the most egregious offenses, high-level offenses, then the clock starts to run for a speedy trial so that you don't have people languishing in jail waiting for a trial, which has really forced prosecutors to try to get rid of those offenses where they can put the person out on the street so they don't have to worry about clogging up a trial calendar. Now, sorry to get wonky with you, Cooper, but...
No, I'm fascinated by this.
What New York did, though, was they put a system into effect, and your producers were kind enough to give me an idea of what some of those offenses are, but they did not put a component in there of danger to the community. See, if you listen to what I said about Jersey, there's a danger to the community standard in those offenses, so that could really jack your score up really high. So it's taken into consideration in the bail motion. Now, let me note just in Jersey, in the 2 years that we've had that, multiple people have been released that otherwise would have been in the county jail, and the recidivism rate has only gone up about 1.9 to 2%. So that's a pretty good trade-off in my mind when you given the taxpayer money that is funding people to be in jail that otherwise should be out on the street. But here's New York. New York only looks at likelihood to appear in court, but does not look at the public safety factor. And as a former prosecutor and as a citizen, I would be like, holy cow, I don't want guys who are really doing really bad things just going back out on the street. Here are some of the offenses in New York when this law goes into effect that people are allowed to be released from, which I found to be quite amazing, because some of these we know are repeat kind of offenders.
Can I guess one, Bob, that you're going to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Manslaughter in the second degree?
No, that's like if you hit somebody with your car. It's like if you're drunk and hit somebody with a car.
Oh, well, that's okay then.
Yeah, no, it's not okay.
If you're drunk and you hit someone with a car. The electric chair for you in my book.
You're still going to get a trial. You're just not going to have to pay bail. You're not going to sit there all for years until your trial.
Yeah, you should have to sit there.
It's really unlikely with an offense like that a person, like, you don't really see like a lot of repeat manslaughter, vehicular manslaughter guys coming through the door. Those aren't the kind of offenses that we know that if you go out, you're likely to commit them again. But we have unlawful possession of a weapon on school property. Now, that is really, concerning to me. Cases like burglary, I was always very big on residential burglaries because those people usually are repeat offenders, as well as solicitation and production of abusive children and child pornography, things of that nature. So I don't want to go through the whole litany of the list here. Many of them make sense to me. Stalking or terroristic threats are another one that you've got to be very concerned about the protection of the victim in situations like that. So I'm faulting New York's law on two bases. One, they don't put a danger to the community factor in their assessment, and some of the crimes that they're allowing people to be released without making a monetary bail, to me, represent a danger to the community.
No, they aren't going to have all that, because if you violate an order of protection, for example, if you're a stalker, then you do not get, you have to stay in jail. You do not get even a chance for bail. So there are some, I think this list just makes it seem like, an innocuous thing. I think these are just first-time offenses.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I'll tell you, another one is failing to register as a sex offender. That's problematic to me.
I would think. How about money laundering in support of terrorism in the third or fourth degree?
Yeah. I mean, that's another one as well. Look, I mean, I think that in some, a lot of the laws they have here are ones that there doesn't need to be a monetary bail, but I still believe that you need to look at the individual, and you need to look at the individual circumstances of each particular case, because not all those crimes, they're all factually oriented, and to make a determination as to whether or not this person represents a danger. And by not having that in the New York bail laws, why you see the police and many district attorneys, pretty much on fire with this, because they recognize that people may go out, reoffend, and more victims will occur. But I mean, generally speaking, the idea of moving away from a monetary bail system, I think, is a good one.
We're speaking with Bob Bianchi, as a host at Law and Crime Network, obviously a former Morris County prosecutor that's out in Jersey. Yeah, this is where I got to draw the line here, and this is where I would have you executed by firing squad. Aggravated cruelty to animals, overdriving, torturing, and injuring animals, and animal fighting. That's it. You don't deserve to be on this planet anymore, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that one you shouldn't get bail. That one should be remanded.
Right.
To our basement.
Joke. I can tell you, Bill, Joe, you were a guy that was up in this area for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I had a case where a guy shot a parrot. He was drunk. He was like 80 years old. He shot Mickey the parrot. Now, that's a horrible thing. I'm an animal lover. You guys probably see all.
What's his name, really? Mickey the parrot? My grandmother had a parrot. I swear to God, a parrot named Mickey. What are the odds on that?
About that?
In Lyndhurst, New Jersey. Wow.
Oh, those Lyndhurst parrots, they were tough.
Yeah, they were. True. Tougher than your average parrot. But go ahead, Bob. Sorry, I just had to note that. That's amazing.
No, but my captain of investigations, who was also my POI, point of information person, said, all the New York media is coming up. You got to do a press conference. And I was like, I am not doing a press conference about a parrot being killed. I mean, it's a terrible thing. I get it. It's only a fourth-degree offense in New Jersey. He's a first offender. He's not going to jail. And he told me something that turned out to be one of the greatest truisms, because he'd been in the business for a while. He goes, when an animal gets hurt, you're going to get out in that media and you're going to give a statement about taking this case seriously. Otherwise, you're going to get hammered. We received over 10,000 emails worldwide about wanting us to execute. And I'm not even making that up. They wanted execution for the guy. They weren't even, most people aren't even concerned when humans are being killed. But when it comes to animals, I learned a lesson. No way, no bueno.
That's right.
No bueno is right. And just to be clear, we want to be clear with people. This isn't letting people off like, oh, sorry, you killed an animal, bye. This is just out on bail. So if somebody commits one of these crimes and they have money, they get out on bail anyway. This is just about bail.
Yeah, that's right, because there's no doubt about it. Those who had money got out for very serious offenses, and those who didn't have money on very minor offenses stayed in, and it wasn't fair.
Right. Okay, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Bob Bianchi. He is the host at Law and Crime Network and a former Morris County prosecutor, one of our favorite guests. Thank you for being here, Bob.
Thanks, Bobby.
Okay, great. Be seeing you guys. Thanks. Bye.